Well, good afternoon, and welcome to this concert. Thank you so much for joining us today. And today I'm happy to have Paul Hamity here joining me, and it's a great pleasure to be able to do these duets. It's so fun. And he's on the vestry here at St. Mary's. He's in the choir, and he used to work for the Fed Bank of Atlanta, and then he moved to Manhattan, worked for the Fed there. He owns his own strategic business, ran strategic solutions, but throughout all that, music has always been in the background. He's sung in choirs and played the piano, and so I'm so happy to have him today. That was "O God, Our Help in Ages Past," the great hymn, and it was arranged by Joel Rainey. I'm going to give you a few background information on a few of the pieces. And it comes from Then Sings My Soul by Robert Morgan. It's a book that gives you all kinds of background information on the authors and why the hymns were written. So again, that's Then Sings My Soul by Robert Morgan if you're interested. The next piece I'm going to play is Rock of Ages. Now, this really has an amusing backstory. At least I thought it was kind of funny. Augustus Montague Toplady, one of the great names in hymnody, was born in 1740 and was ordained an Anglican priest by the age of 22. Now, as with human nature, and certainly no different in the church sometimes, there are these fierce arguments, and in the church especially, these fierce theological arguments where people take these sides very staunchly. Well, Montague Toplady was a staunch Calvinist, and he was very much against the theology of John and Charles Wesley, who kind of were the founders of the Methodist movement, which was sweeping Great Britain at this time. In 1776, Toplady wrote an article really intending it to be a swipe at John Wesley. And it ended, the article ended with this little bit of an original poem. It was really one verse, I believe. And it began, "Rock of Ages, cleft for me." Well, this famous hymn has been called the best known, best loved, and most widely useful hymn in the English language. Ironically, it is very similar to something that John Wesley himself had written many years previously. So perhaps this is another example that we have much more in common and probably shouldn't dwell as prodigiously on our differences. This is one of my favorite settings of a hymn, and it's arranged by Heather Sorensen. Well, this next arrangement is by Mark Hayes, who's an excellent composer and arranger, who's really been around doing sacred arrangements for decades. And this piece combines two hymns, one very old and then one relatively new. So the first one is As the Deer. It's kind of a modern hymn from I believe it's 1980s, 1990s. And it's a text by Martin Nystrom, and it's based on Psalm 42, verse 1. As the deer pants for the water, so my soul longs for you. Now, next in this arrangement, it's coupled with Fairest Lord Jesus, which is a gorgeous text written in the mid-1600s by Roman Catholic Jesuits living in Germany. We don't know a specific author, though. The text emphasizes the beauty and wonder of Christ, and throughout it's referencing nature, but always pointing back to Christ being better than all and more beautiful than all. During this piece, there will be a video of pictures playing, and they come from parishioners here at St. Mary's. They were asked to send in pictures of new life and beauty, kind of representing this time that we're in of spring, of Easter. So I hope you enjoy the video, and I hope you enjoy the music. So thank you to those who sent in those pictures. I appreciate it, and I haven't seen the whole video yet, so I'll have to watch it later. Well, the next piece is a very, very famous classical tune. And there was a text of music, a hymn, or a text of music, sorry about that. So a poem set to this music. So Henry Jackson Van Dyke, he was a Pennsylvania native, so I'm a Pennsylvania native, so I had to put that in there. He was a pastor, author, and professor of English literature at Princeton. Actually, his book, The Other Wise Man, is, I guess, still popular to this day, although I've not read it. In 1907, he was invited to preach at Williams College in Massachusetts, and one morning, he handed the college president a piece of paper saying, "Here is a hymn for you. Your mountains, the Berkshires, were my inspiration. It must be sung to the music of Beethoven's Hymn of Joy." This is Joyful, Joyful, We Adore Thee. It's again arranged by Joel Rainey. Well, that was another medley of two pieces, Be Still and Know, which comes from the text comes from Psalm 46:10, Be still and know that I am God. And then it was coupled with a very, very famous tune, Finlandia by Sibelius. And the text for that is just this wonderful, comforting text, Be still, my soul. Well, thanks again for joining us today. We have one more piece for you. And thanks again to Paul Hamady. I appreciate his willingness to do this. And actually, on pretty short notice. So thanks again for that. Great job, as always. Next week, we will have something completely different. A violinist will be here, Ian Wilkinson, and the music will be completely different. It'll be more classical. There will be some movie tunes and some trivia with that. So join us next week at the same time, Wednesday at noon, and tell any friends who might enjoy this as well. Well, our last piece is one of the most beloved hymns. It will have its 100th anniversary in just 3 years, I believe. So it was written by Thomas Chisholm, and it's based on a verse in Lamentations chapter 3. His compassions fail not. They are new every morning. Great is your faithfulness. Now this great hymn has become just beloved over the last 100 years. Now, on the occasion of writing this poem, Great is Thy Faithfulness, Thomas Slater said, there's really no dramatic story behind it. He just wrote it, I guess, in kind of the humdrum of life, and he sent several of his poems to a musician friend of his, and William Runyon, was really taken by this text, Great is Thy Faithfulness, and he's the one that composed the music. So again, this piece is arranged for piano and organ by Joel Rainey, and have a lovely week.